Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider and lead Lakers content creator for Offside, joined on this fine pre-holiday Wednesday afternoon by Harrison Fagan. Harrison, I was thinking about this, as I was kind of setting up the show. In years past, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving was like one of the biggest bar nights of the year, right? Of the calendar year.
Had no idea.
Well, right. Like you've never drank. So like what was like your typical pre-Thanksgiving Wednesday night? What did that consist of? Was it just blogging?
Yeah, or like playing video games.
It's depressing.
See, we had I think I had Friendsgiving one year.
I kind of miss Friendsgiving sometimes.
Yeah, we never did that one again because somebody in the friend group broke the other person's parents' toilet and that night, and not even in like a gross way, like they just slammed the seat down too hard and it just snapped in half, and then they just tried to pretend like they didn't do it, even though we all heard like the loud noise, and they're like, "Oh no, it was like that when I got in there." And then it just sort of led to a falling out among this friend group because one of them was understandably upset that this person was just lying to her face about having broken her parents' toilet.
That is one of the most random ways I've ever heard of losing a friend over a toilet seat lying.
Yeah,
And then that person went on to become general manager of the Dallas Mavericks.
Yep, it was Nico Harrison, my old Nike buddy.
You guys used to hang out, and it was
He's
Nico
like, it must have
Harrison
been Luca that broke it. He's the fat one.
He sat down on the toilet and it broke.
Yeah.
That was before he even knew Luca. Like he was just like, "There's a kid out there."
No, I like to imagine he knew Luca was like an enemy to him for a long time. He was like in the background of like some moment where Luca was like incredible at basketball and Nico Harrison was on the wrong end of it, against like one of his clients or friends or something like that. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to destroy that man's life. I'm going to take $70 million away from him.
Yeah. I've always kind of wondered, like, there was a report recently that Luca and the Mavericks owner had like an awkward moment. Like I've always kind of wondered if the
Patrick Dumont doesn't look like he has a lot of non-awkward moments.
What's the word I'm thinking of? The reason, huh? Well, what's that?
Implication?
No, it's like the starting point that starts with IMP. But anyway, like I've always wondered if that starting point for like, the first domino and that meme that eventually leads to the big domino following and that domino being Luca being traded is like Luca parking in the owner's spot or Nico Harrison's spot, or like, saying that, calling, because it's like Patrick Dumont, right? So like calling him Pat or Patty, or something like that. Fatty Patty,
Called him P-Dog.
Yeah, like just some like, or he walked in and
called him anything but Mr. Dumont,
Yeah, like, and yeah, I could just see, like, if you go by Patrick, I've always had this thought that like if you have a name that is popularly shortened, right? So like my middle name is Frederick, and a lot of my friends and family call me Fred. And if I forced people to call me Frederick, and corrected people, I feel like those are some of the worst people on earth,
Yeah.
Like Mike Malone, right? Like he's Mike Malone. He should be Mike Malone. It rolls right off of the tongue.
Used to go by Mike Malone.
And then I'll like he wins a championship. Yeah, he
Yeah.
wins the championship, and then he decides, nope, I'm Michael now. That guy
One of my
sucks.
favorite things about Brian Windhorst is that he still calls him Mike Malone. Like, he's known Mike Malone since he was like a Cleveland Cavaliers assistant. And he refuses to call him Michael still.
Yeah. Brian is right.
Yeah, he's
Objectively
correct.
correct. Yeah. And so like but I feel like because Patrick, most people go by Pat. I have an Uncle Pat. If you call him Pat and he corrects you to Patrick, I could just see him doing that. And then I could see like Luka doing it again. Or, he says, he calls him Pat and then Dumont, corrects him. Actually, sorry, man. I go by Patrick. And then Luka goes like, yeah, sure thing, Patty. That would lead to Luka eventually getting traded. I've wondered if it was something small and petty. Petty Patty would do something like that.
I think that Luka triple parked in Nico, the owner, and someone else's parking lot. Like, we're gonna, if Luka's season was going worse and the Mavs was going better, we would have gotten a leak like that just to like pile on.
Yeah,
it's like, well, this guy, he also triple parked in like 3 reserve spots, including a handicap.
Yeah. Well, and so I have a comment here from not a Kendall Marshall fan. Kendall Marshall should have been Ken, but like, or Kenny, but like, yeah, I look like more of an Anthony than a Frederick. Well, that's probably because you only know me.
It's like when we found out all the Lakers called KCP Kenny and blew my mind.
It was weird. Like,
I hadn't thought of that abbreviation for Contavious, but it's correct. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And KCP's cool. He went with it.
Champion.
Yeah.
Right. 2-time champion. But yeah, so in my line of work, right? Or in any kind of setting where somebody asks me like, hey, so what do I call you? I really don't care. People want to call me Anthony. Like, we have friends in our industry, who call me Fred. Kirk calls me Fred. Adam calls me Fred. And then I never like sit. Yeah. Like, I never say to them, no, man. And you guys know me as a work guy. I prefer you guys call me Anthony and keep that thing separate. Like, that's never even crossed my mind. You call me Anthony, right? So it's like,
yeah,
I would
100%.
never.
I've never presumed to call you Fred because that is not what I know you as. But it's like, I see us like we're like the Justice League, like it's like we're using our made up names.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, like,
I don't know why my real name's Steve, but I don't go by that.
Is it actually? That would be so funny if I just learned that about you now.
I'll never tell you my real name.
Today on the show, we are not going to be talking about that for the whole show. We are going to be talking about coming off of last night's win, and given that the Lakers currently sit at the 2 seed, and continue to like look better. They continue to it has me wondering what the Lakers ceilings plural are, right? First, we'll talk about what the Lakers ceiling is as they are currently constructed. Maybe some rotation tweaks, maybe some approach tweaks within the rotation and within those minutes. What are the Lakers like if they were just to play out the season without making any kind of a move, with a realistic injury scenario where most of the guys stay healthy, especially the key 3 guys stay healthy? What are the Lakers kind of capable of right now? And then we'll talk about like the next ceiling up, where, if the Lakers made one trade, not, a full trade deadline and buyout season, if they made one trade, what their ceiling could possibly be with the one deal. And then finally, we'll wrap up with the Lakers' highest realistic ceiling, meaning they go through a full trade deadline with a couple of realistic moves and a buyout season, which I think is going to be fruitful again this year. And we see where they kind of wind up. We will try to figure out what the Lakers, can they win a championship this year? Is I think kind of the crux of that final question. And I'm curious where not just you and I, but the rest of the chat lands on those various ceilings as well. Before we even get into any of that, first hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, subscribe to the show on podcasts, all that stuff. But I want to start with the game that we just watched last night, Harrison, because the thing that like jumped out at me is I've rewatched it now. You could tell that the Lakers are good because I'm rewatching games. This is the most into a season that I have been in a long time. But two, watching and rewatching that game, I had kind of put a pin in it while I was watching it live, and I kind of wanted to go back and see if it was that much more obvious. But this is the best team-wide chemistry that I think the Lakers have had since 2019, 2020. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
And it only gets better. And yes, it helps that they're winning. And yes, it helps that they're having the success. This is part of why I freaked out over the preseason that the Lakers had, because I knew that they needed to get off to this kind of a start. If we could get to these kinds of vibes, I think it really would unlock the rest of the season. But it really jumped off of the screen last night, the extent to which the Lakers just seemed to enjoy being teammates with each other. And then also by extension, it really jumped off of the screen that the Clippers seem to fucking hate each other. that was wild. What did you like watching that game last night? Would that be your top takeaway? What was your top takeaway watching that game last night?
First of all, I disagree about the Clippers. I think they are all completely indifferent to each other. I don't think that it's like a like or hate thing. I think it's just
worse.
like, like it's like if you show up in an office job and it's like, the guy like 10 cubicles down from you who you don't know that well. It's like you don't hate him, but you're not going to like go out for drinks with him after work either. Like you don't know anything about him. You walk past it, you're like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?"
Does that person 10 cubicles down from me are they embezzling money to make sure he's paid better, or
Yes, he's making $60 million more a year than you, plus whatever he is earning in tax evasion.
And I'm the one planting the trees.
Yeah, exactly. And you do double the work.
Yeah.
He only comes
Welcome
in
to
once
James Harden's life.
Yeah. Did you see the Ty Lue quote, by the way, last night? Not to derail us too far from the Lakers, but
was
the
that
next
the
man up thing?
400K one?
No, the next man up. The 400K one where he was like, it's not, people talk about next man up, but that's not really fair when the first man is making 70 million and the next guy's making 400K. Like, maybe Ty Lue hates Kawhi. But I think the rest of the Clippers are mostly just like kind of indifferent to each other.
I was thinking about this today. So my first thought was, no,
I think James
I've had a
and Zoo
few
like
thoughts
each
on the
other.
Clippers. Huh?
I think James and Zoo like each other. I feel like point guards and Zoo always have like a bond.
Zoo seems like a fairly easy guy to get along with.
Yeah. That's
I called him Zoo last night, and Lakers fans were like, "Who is like, what is this Zoo thing?" And I was like, "Damn, has it been that long?"
Ugh,
man. I think
how quickly our legends are forgotten.
Hold on, I think I'm gonna try to add this while we're talking.
Oh, our song?
I think I have it here.
I do not have it here, but as far as your question, your original question about the Lakers and like how good they look last night, I think, I think some of that is like the cup, and I think that this team is really trying to win that this year again, and I think that we have to start asking the question, like, is LeBron the greatest cup riser in history? If he can sort of have like what I'm dubbing the cup dynasty
between
of
him and Taurean Prince.
All of the pieces around him have been replaced. The coach, almost all of the players except for Austin, but LeBron is still driving winning in the cup. And I think that is why, it's something that'll give him an edge over Jordan when we're looking back at this in 10 to 15 years, probably.
List me all the NBA cups that Michael Jordan won.
Exactly. None. He literally never won a cup game in his entire career.
Not one.
I don't know why that fraud's on NBC halftime interviews.
You ready for a trip down memory lane?
Yeah.
Zoo. Speed.
Oh man.
I will never forget making that on your couch on my student laptop and student Adobe Premiere. Video editing is my passion.
I miss back when blogging was fun like that.
Yeah.
Like, and this stuff was like that kind of goofy and fun. But yeah, so I was watching my few thoughts on the Clippers. One, I can't decide if they should go all in or blow it up. I have no idea. And the reason being is on one hand, the NBA is investigating them and will probably eventually take whatever picks they possibly can trade from them as a result of this aspiration deal. So you may as well just trade those picks now while you can. The league hasn't indicated that those picks are frozen. So you may as well trade those picks while you can before you just wind up giving them to the league. But at the same
point
time,
that I always make is that the league, there is a Stepien rule for trades. There's not a Stepien rule for picks the NBA can take away. So yeah, you could trade all your picks and then the NBA is like, that's cool. We're taking your picks in 9, like 10, 11, 12 years.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about that too. I was laughing at like, all right, so they could take those picks from like really far away, but like the Stepien rule dictates that you have to make a pick every other year. You have to make a pick in the first round every other year. And it would be funny if the league took those picks that the Clippers would be making in those every other year and then fine them for not making picks in those seasons. When those seasons,
I think that's the punishment for not making a pick.
I know. Well,
yeah.
there is no punishment because you're just not allowed to make those trades.
Yeah.
So
exactly,
but like
the league can just say like, we're just taking those other picks. Like there's no, and then you are ultra screwed.
They should be ultra screwed. That's why like Raj was making the case like, aren't you done like with the Schadenfreude with this team? I was like, fuck no. I hate
Raj
those
is too
people.
Nice.
But so like I think the with like should they blow it up? Should they stay because if you blow it up, you're trading Kawhi at his least valuable. You could probably get something for Harden. Harden is playing good basketball right now. So I would say you could probably get some stuff of value for Harden. But like whatever you do trade, because you could probably get stuff for Zoo. Probably not going to get a ton for Kawhi, because for one thing, who's trading for Kawhi with this aspiration deal?
No,
hanging over his head, and on top of it, he never plays, and on top of it,
Kawhi on that contract is not a positive asset right now in a trade.
Yeah,
maybe he is for the Clippers if he plays up to his potential, but he's not in a trade.
He never does, and he never will.
For that. Yeah.
So, like, I guess you could technically trade some stuff. You could get some stuff for Harden. You could get some stuff for Zubats, but even then, if you do get stuff for those guys, that just becomes stuff that the league can take. So, like, why blow it up?
It's a fair point.
So it's like you may as well just like go all in. But the problem with going all in is that like because you have Kawhi Leonard on your team taking up that much of your cap, and you never know. Well, actually, at this point, we do know he's just not going to play in the playoffs. He's not going to finish a playoff run. So there's nothing that the Clippers could realistically do that would make them title contenders, or even maybe even squeeze them into the playoffs. At this point, they're like they've dug themselves a pretty deep hole. I legitimately don't know where they can go. And you know what, Harrison? It couldn't happen to a more annoying team.
Well, I'm excited for Steve Ballmer to use his facial recognition technology to arrest me when I go to a Clippers game on Friday for this segment. I'm going to Intuit Prison, and Chuck the Condor is going to be my jailer. Going to chop me up and fire the pieces out of the t-shirt cannon.
I'll have to. I'll show up and I'll break you out of there.
Can you do an in memoriam segment for me as heartfelt as that Svi and Zoo one?
Well,
at least
the thing is, the Clippers haven't been able to defend anybody this year, so I do feel like I could break into the cracks of their defense, get you out of there, and
break it. He'd break me out of their prison. They're like, they're running. We can't catch them.
It was funny to hear their
Harden sort of sticks an arm out, and he's like, you guys got it. We'll get him back on the other end.
it was hilarious to listen to the telecast last night. Just keep on pointing out, another shot with 5 seconds or less in the shot clock. These guys are so slow.
Yeah.
Last night
their transition defense is just abysmal. It every single time the Lakers got a long rebound, I feel like they got a layup out of it. It was insane.
It didn't matter if it was a long rebound or a made basket. Like the Clippers just walk one way and walk back the other way.
Everybody's a savvy vet until they're old,
Yeah, and that happens fast in this league.
Yeah. I was, eventually, it seems like it's not necessarily going to be this year, and this factors into the Lakers ceiling. But at some point, like, that's going to be LeBron. LeBron is going to stop being impressive for his age, and he's going to be old. We don't know when that's going to be, but it happens to everyone.
Well, the nice thing is the Lakers have the infrastructure to make up for LeBron getting old. We lost Harrison. He just got arrested by Chuck the Condor. He just pieced out. So I am here on my own. I guess what I'll do then is, you know what? Here's the perfect thing to do while we wait for Harrison to hopefully come back. It's everybody's favorite clip. It's actually fitting given the subject matter that we just talked about. Here you go, everybody. Laugh at the Clippers. Welcome, everybody, to the Locked On Lakers podcast.
Paul George really hit the side of the backboard.
It was wide open. I can't even make sense.
Lou Williams, he said they just came together this year, as if that was an excuse, like the other team in the conference finals didn't do that.
Well, what happened was
It doesn't even matter.
We didn't have time to get it together, like we just.
Did he say that with like lemon pepper wings in his mouth? Is that what happened there?
You're nicking it off his
Like,
finger.
oh man, there were some absences that cost us some
I
time.
just can't quite figure
Picking
out
it out of his teeth.
why we don't have any chemistry.
It's like Lou.
God, simpler times.
I've been re-educated and told that there was no collusion. There's no evidence of any cap circumvention credible, and we're not going to be taking the word of some podcaster about it. Certainly.
Yeah, I for one thing, I'm happy that you were able to escape their jail, Harrison. That was the timing on that could not have possibly been any better. The second thing here is, I guess we should probably dive into the actual subject matter of the show. 23 minutes in. So
I think that's our fastest intro ever.
It's gotta be pretty
got a
high.
new record.
Tommaso, the Ballmer hit squad got him. The problem is, like, with the way that the
That's
Clippers
not true.
are,
Steve Ballmer, there's no evidence of him doing anything like that. He just loves Los Angeles, and he loves his Clippers and trees, and conservation.
I hope he loves Los Angeles so much he moves to Seattle. So the Lakers' current ceiling, as they are currently constructed. So what I'm going to say is, at some point over the season, they're going to fiddle with maybe bringing Rui off of the bench, starting Marcus Smart, seeing if there's a better way to maximize their minutes at the start of the game. I would like to believe that would be the case. Why are you blurry?
I have no idea what is going on with my computer right now.
Is your computer a Microsoft computer? Like,
you know what's funny? It's not, but if it was, this would be even funnier.
All this is missing is like Clippy showing up and be like, it looks like
Clippy's behind me just with a baseball bat, just like hitting it in his hand.
I don't know why Clippy wasn't their mascot. Chuck the Condor is stupid.
Or at least an alternate. Some teams have multiple of like the plush characters. Get Clippy out there too.
Yeah.
The kids love Clippy.
So I think that at some point this year, we will see the Lakers kind of tinker with their starting group. Or at the very least, like the point that I made in the offside video that I recorded yesterday, was that I would like to see the Lakers run more pick and roll with Rui setting the screens so that he is more involved in the offense than he has been so far with that starting group, which like if you're going to start the guy because of what he can do offensively, then you can't stick him in the corner, So I would like to see what that would maybe look like. But I do think maybe tinkering with the starting group, optimizing the current starting group if they just decide to do that. Maybe Adudero gets into the rotation and brings back some more athleticism. Like I think as they are currently constructed, I have the Lakers as they're going to win a round, I would say this year if they remain as currently constructed. And then their second round, it just completely depends on who they play. If they somehow play Houston in the second round, which is a possibility, by the way, like the Nuggets aren't going to have Aaron Gordon for a prolonged stretch. They aren't going to have Christian Brown for a prolonged stretch.
Oh no.
If that, like, you could walk into a situation here where it goes OKC, Houston / LA, and then Denver at the 4 seed, and the entire conference exhales at the idea of the Nuggets playing the Thunder in the second round and some team not having to go through both of those teams to get to the finals. That I think is on the table. So, but like basically the Lakers would need to, if they are currently constructed, they would need like 4 or 5 breaks, I think, to win a championship this year, right? An injury to somebody on OKC, more injuries to
maybe more than one, considering
Denver.
how they're playing.
Yeah, it's fucking,
know?
they're so stacked. Like I honestly think that Shea, knocking on wood, that this doesn't actually happen, but Shea could miss a good amount of time, and I think they would be fine, probably.
See, I think that's the one guy where it's a bridge too far. I think almost anyone else they could miss. I think
I bet he could miss like a month, and yeah, they wouldn't win at the historic pace that they're winning right now.
Yeah.
But I think by the time he got back, they would still be the 1 seed.
I just feel like so often he is their only offense, and
AJ Mitchell looks really good.
Yeah, but AJ Mitchell looks a lot different if it's not if Shea is
next
not also
to
out
Shea
there.
rather than being Shea.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, we've seen that with we've seen that with Austin. Like we've seen that with various guys. It's like it changes when you're a young guy. Like I'm talking past years, like where Austin went from fun secondary attacker guy to the Lakers were like, go be our point guard, and that was kind of rough to start with. And he's gotten better since then, to his credit. But yeah, I am hesitant to say that they would continue to win all that well without Shea. That's the one guy.
I'm looking at, I was just kind of curious while you were talking, and I'm looking at the Lakers starting group as they're currently constructed. Now, they've only played 2 games together, right? They didn't play
2-0, baby.
So the LeBron, Ayton, Doncic, Hachimura, Reeves lineup, 2 games, 17 minutes together, offensive rating of 109.5, defensive rating of 127.5.
I've seen better defensive ratings.
That's if that continues, JJ has to make a change. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, and also, good thing you have all your best offensive guys in that clearly powerful lineup.
Yeah, well, and then I, so last night, you insert Hayes into the starting group instead of Ayton, and on the season, LeBron, Luka, Rui, Reeves, and Hayes instead of Ayton. They are scoring at a pace of 117.9 points per 100 possessions and a defensive rating of 127.5. Man, I'm going to look at the 4-player lineup really quick, just because I'm here. But man, anyway, what do you think is that? While I do that, what do you think their ceiling is as currently constructed?
I was just going to say I am actually not willing. I think their ceiling is the second round. I don't know if you were sort of trying to, as currently constructed. I don't know if you were trying to sort of like, you know, allude to this when you were talking about like the team, but I think that you were saying almost like the first round is like, yeah, they'll clearly get through that. But we saw last year
That's
that
fair.
that's not necessarily a guarantee in the West if you catch the wrong matchup at the wrong time. And this team, you know, they're better than last year's team. I think they've pretty clearly shown that, but they also still have some of the same flaws. And I think that, you know, if you catch, say, the Wolves, you know, in the first round again, there's a chance that that goes just as badly as it did last time. If, you know, if they're hot and they've sort of rebounded, gotten it together, and you are still sort of dealing with some of the perimeter defense, some of the physicality issues that you're having. And, you know, again, JJ has shown to be a very good regular season coach. He has not shown himself to be a good playoff coach yet. And, you know, we can talk about how good his record's been and all of that stuff, but in the playoffs last year, he got totally pantsed by Chris Finch and when it mattered. Yeah. And, you know, maybe that doesn't happen again this year. Maybe he learns from that. But, you know, until we see it, I'm not willing to just write off like a first round opponent. And I think it's certainly not second round. So like, I think second round right now is probably their ceiling with this current group.
So I just for the sake of completing the point, LeBron, Luka, Rui, and Reeves as a 4-man group this year, offensive rating of 104.7, defensive rating of 128. And again, very small.
It's like you'd sort of
sample
expect
sizes
that
here.
given the 5-man numbers, but
yeah, like this is where like offensive and defensive ratings are kind of difficult, right? Because if we want to lean into the confirmation bias, we can. I also don't know that I need a whole lot more data with that group. Seeing as like the problems are very clear. There are
the
3
theoretical criticism of that group. The argument against it before we saw it on the court was this is not going to be enough defense in 2025. Yeah. And then the early returns against some bad teams too have shown exactly that.
Yeah. So and you
that's
could say
the other
like,
thing you have to take into
Utah's
account.
a
You
tricky
could say
matchup,
it's small sample size, but it's small sample size against bad basketball teams.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder, let's see. I don't think we're going to have
Rui
a ton
sucks.
of data.
I just don't think that you can start him. It's too duplicative of the other guy's strengths and weaknesses, and you're not best using him, and you're like basically setting him up to fail.
What is let's do the 3-player lineups with just
what, Luka, Austin, Rui?
No, LeBron, Luka, Reeves. Yeah, so far 3 games.
That's still not going to be good because LeBron's only played a couple games.
Yeah, 3 games in, 113.3 offensive rating, 129.4 defensive rating. Yeah. That's and look, if we're talking about like ceilings as the Lakers are currently constructed, right? That's probably the reason that the Lakers ceiling tops out as a second round exit if they get there. And if your best trio is LeBron, Luka, and Austin, and they're playing like not just negative basketball, Harrison, but they're getting blown out in those minutes. Based on those stats. So like if that's going to be the case, maybe your ceiling is like getting to the playoffs even, you know, like the Lakers are going to have, my point is, I don't think that's how they'll finish the season. I don't think they'll finish the season with Luka, Austin, and Doncic playing at a negative 16 net rating. What did I say?
You said Luka, Austin, and Doncic.
Oh, well, I don't think you'll finish the season with LeBron, Luka, and Austin.
If they had 2 Lukas, that would be pretty good. Yeah.
Rating. Yeah. But yeah, it is the kind of thing that, you know, does kind of pour a little bit of cold water on like their chances this season, because like, frankly, at no point should your big 3 look that bad. Right.
Yeah, it's small sample and LeBron is returning from injury. So I don't know. Again, like, I don't think that it will continue to be that bad. And I think some of that is the lineup construction around them and some of the other weirdness of, you know, just the wonkiness of only having played, 3 games together now. So we're going to get more data on that, and I would expect that those three together will eventually be better. But I just don't think. Again, it's none of these guys are like bad players. I just don't think that it's like you wouldn't start three centers even if they were all good.
Yeah.
It's like you can't start three guys that are essentially all need to guard power forwards.
Yeah. So something to keep an eye on. I agree with you though that they're currently constructed, second round seems like the highest that they're going to be able to climb. With one trade, and we don't have to talk about like a specific trade, but like one solid trade that maybe brings a starter into the group. That allows Rui or whoever, like it makes that unit make more sense. Whether it's Wiggins, whether it's Dylan Brooks, whether it's Herb Jones, whether it's even Derek Jones Jr., I think would really help that unit, that kind of a move. If that's the only move that they make, what would your ceiling for that group be?
I think for me, it's less dependent on the one move. Obviously, unless that guy is like a stellar player. Like if they get Wiggins and he's as good as he's been to start this season, then like maybe that is sort of a different conversation, just because positionally he fits so much better. But I think with one, it's less about the one move, and it's more about, are they going to sort of figure out the lineups that are going to make the most sense for them long term and be the least likely to get exposed during the playoffs? Because the thing is, I guess if you trade for another starter that fits better, like let's say even if you don't trade Rui and it just moves him to the bench just because you get like that sort of that long-term wing stopper, and it's like, it's a Marcus Smart that can hit threes, and does not turn the ball over on inbounds passes, and like that's your starter type of guy, then maybe that changes the ceiling a little bit, and it's sort of you start to look at, like conference finals, probably the ceiling, like I don't know. And then at that point, it's like you kind of have to say NBA finals is the ceiling, because if you're in the conference finals, you're even if you're undermatched, you're like a lucky break away from getting in. We saw what happened with the Pacers last year, where they just caught the right matchups. They caught fire at the right time. But I think it's just more about, like, I think JJ is going to have to sort of go against some of the ways that he's been coaching, where he goes like so offense defense, that I just think that it's like, you need to try and balance these lineups better, rather than just being like, okay, I'm going to play all my best defenders together and I'm going to play all my best offensive players together, almost like you're a football team and you're doing, line changes. But the Lakers don't get to change each time they change ends of the floor.
There was and it hasn't been updated since, and I don't have it in front of me, but there was a graph that I saw yesterday that outlined which teams have the most productive starting groups, which teams have the most productive bench groups, and then which teams have the best combination groups. And the Lakers' best group has been a combination of their starters and their bench.
Yeah.
It hasn't been their starters. It hasn't been their bench. It's been when the two groups overlap, and like you're talking about, they balance out. And now, like, over the course of a game, I would say you probably have more lineups that are blended than one or the other over the course of the game. But you still have to, I believe, get to that type of a unit sooner. Like, you start
it's also
the game.
Point that you always make of the starters aren't necessarily the most important lineup, but they are the lineup that plays the most. And so if you're playing a group that is giving you a disadvantage, the most minutes, you're sort of starting down 8 points or whatever.
Yeah. Well, 16 in.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it'll be that bad the entire time, but you would hope. And if it was, you would think that would spur change.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, and this is kind of what I'm hoping for, is that JJ would be more process oriented than results oriented, right? Because Frank Vogel stuck with that starting group with JaVale, with Avery Bradley, and they wound up winning a championship anyway. But, this team isn't that much more talented than everybody is the 1920 team was, right?
Yeah.
That 1920 team, we could look back and say they are one of the better modern champions.
And also the starting unit, you could say that wasn't their best lineup, but it still won its minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Not by as much as Caruso won his minutes.
Yeah.
Or,
but they still, like,
80
it's
at
not
the
like
5
they were
won his
losing,
minutes. But yeah.
they didn't have a negative 16 net rating, It was they were still winning those minutes. They just weren't winning them by as much as they won the AD center minutes.
Well, and I think even further to your point, the Lakers didn't lose their LeBron AD minutes.
Yeah.
And that is something that, if the Lakers lose their LeBron, Luka, Austin minutes, that is a a fatal flaw, a Shakespearean flaw in that is really going to lower the team's ceiling. But I would say with a trade that brings in a starter who doesn't cost you Rui, and Rui moves to the bench, and that starting group makes more sense. That team, I do think, can get you to the conference finals. I don't think that there's a realistic trade out there that would make you better, though, than OKC/Denver. I don't think there is a realistic
I'm not scared of
singular
Tubbo
move.
anymore. Luka owns him.
True. Fair. But I would say
OKC, yeah, I am. OKC, I'm afraid of.
You would walk into those series though, and you would be within the margin for error that Lakers fans could talk themselves into winning that series, right? If that series was to happen right now, there would be no way that I could walk into it and be like, yeah, totally. If this
we're doing a podcast
happened.
where it's like, how can the Lakers win? And we're like, I don't know.
It's a 5-second long. It's an offside video. It's it's not even.
If you slash the OKC bus's tires on the way there and they're late to the game, so they have to forfeit because they don't have enough players, you can
even
steal
then,
game one
I think,
that way.
I think Dort just pulls the bus all the way to the building.
Just starts crashing through walls like the Juggernaut.
Yeah, who's that X-Men with the helmet who just goes through?
That would be the Juggernaut. Yeah,
Juggernaut. Yeah.
As he says in his favorite line, "I'm the Juggernaut." B word. I'm not going to say that on air.
I don't know why I blanked on who the Juggernaut is.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about their highest possible ceiling then. What the Lakers could realistically do. This is a couple of trades. This is maybe a buyout addition to supplement those trades, right? Because I do think that the Lakers would be wise to trade multiple expirings to bring in a starting level player, right? And if you do that, that means that you could replace one thought that I had between last night's game and today, because I was actually kind of impressed by Chris Dunn. I like his level of give a bleep. The fact that he actually fought. This is where we find out.
This is where we find out if Luka has Mamba mentality and he's like, I want that guy on my team, or if he's like, fuck that guy. We're absolutely not signing or trading for him.
Yeah, but that's I was just I grew up in rooting for Kobe teams, so I would see a guy do something like that and be like, Matt Barnes, kind of interesting.
It would be very funny if we get a story at ESPN in 4 months where it's after that game, Luka walked into Rob Pelinka's office and says, I want that guy.
Yeah. That would be, Rob would leak that.
Yeah.
Right. That would absolutely be the kind
That's
of thing.
That's how Luka would actually get Rob to do what he wanted. Is he just has to ask himself, WWKD, what would Kobe do? You know? And
so in this scenario, the Lakers trade expirings and their first round pick. This is the best case realistic, yet still realistic trade deadline / buyout season. This is the optimized, again, realistic version of this Lakers roster at the end of the year. And I'm just going to say it, Harrison. If they execute the trade deadline, if you trade for a Herb Jones and you use whatever leftover money that you have to sign, because Chris Dunn, like I said a second ago, if the Clippers Trade Chris Young to some team and Chris Dunn to some team, and he shows up and he's like, I don't really want to be on the Wizards, and then the Wizards buy him out. And he basically takes the Gabe minutes. And you add a starter to that group, and on top of that, you optimize the minutes that you have with Luka and Austin and LeBron just by way of reps and all that stuff. I'm just going to say it, Harrison. I think that team is a championship, maybe not favorite, but
No, not favorite.
I could see a path to where they would be in that tier with OKC and Denver.
Yeah.
This offense is just too potent. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
how many times you noticed it too, but one of the things that really jumped off of the screen beyond the chemistry stuff was how often the Clippers like looked over to the weak side and was like, fuck, that's LeBron on the other side of this set. What do
I
we
think the
even do
Clippers
here?
look around and are like, shit, like a lot. I think that they might lead the league in that.
Yeah, like the number of times that the Lakers have their like strong side set that they run, and then the ball rotates over, and it's like Luka sometimes, or Austin or LeBron, and an already broken down defense looks over, and it's like, huh?
Yeah.
And it like I actually think it could eventually become the
Even
league's
honestly,
equivalent
again,
of OKC's defense.
we've bashed on him a little bit this pod, but like even honestly, there have been a lot of times this year where teams have been saying that about Rui. It's
Yeah.
like, wait, he's open in the spot he's automatic from in the mid range, and like he just is gonna walk into a practice shot and just hit them every single time, like
I mean, like that's part of why I want him in the pick and roll is because like Luka statistically is getting blitzed more than any other player in the league. I think the second next closest is Cade Cunningham. But basically what teams are basically doing is like, look, we know that Luka on a switch is going to hurt us one way or another.
We know you're going to cook us. Somebody else had better get in the kitchen.
But that's an insane thing to say with LeBron and Austin also on the court, right? Like that's why this offense can be just so mesmerizing when it's really clicking. And
it's almost the basketball version of like intentionally walking Shohei. It's just like, we don't want to see what you can do with the ball. Just go. We're going to give you an advantage. Just go to first base. We are giving you this 4-on-3 because we are so worried about what you're going to do in a 5-on-5.
I don't know how big of a baseball fan you are, but at one point when Barry Bonds was at his like most yoked out, most roided out, like that is absolute peak. A team walked him with the bases loaded intentionally. They were just like,
that's so funny.
One run is better than four.
They're like, you know what? We're going to give you a run.
Literally, Harrison. That actually fucking happened.
That's crazy. I did not know that. I'm not a big baseball guy. I knew Barry Bonds was unbelievable. I remember watching like the home run race on SportsCenter and stuff like that as a kid, but that's crazy. And that's basically what teams are doing. They're like, LeBron, go attack a 4-on-3.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I want to see Rui set some screens, because him at that free throw line, teams are going to have to eventually, they can't survive giving him that shot. He makes that shot too frequently. They cannot survive, obviously, also by helping off of either Ayton or Jackson in the dunker spot. They can't survive helping off of whoever is on the weak side there between the two leftover guys, whether it's Austin and LeBron or Austin and Luka or Luka and LeBron. Like, they cannot survive leaving those guys open. So I just think like putting Rui, one, it gets him involved in the offense to a better extent and stuff like that. And I just think it puts teams in an impossible spot. And Rui actually has kind of surprising, underrated creating chops if the play is super easy in front of him. Right?
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say.
Like I wouldn't give him the ball at the top of the
room
key
with us, Anthony.
I wouldn't give him the ball at the top of the key with like, a pick and roll and say, all right, Rui, take us home, buddy.
Go cook.
I don't think I would go that far, but I do think if you basically outline to Rui, hey, you're going to catch the ball, you're going to be wide open at the free throw line, and you're going to have like a full second to make your decision there. I do think he can manage that spot. He did it against Minnesota. That was one of the bright spots. One of the better stretches that the Lakers had in that series was putting Rui in the short roll and Minnesota just not really knowing what to do with it. And that
Apparently,
was Minnesota's defense with.
According to the fourth quarter last night, putting Jackson in the short roll is what you want.
Well, here's my thing. If you like, basically the Lakers in the short roll in Luka pick and roll situations is an unbeatable thing. I think, right? Because the you're going to have two players really far away from the basket, and you're going to have options one pass away from the short roll that defenses cannot leave.
Yeah.
And that's going to leave either Rui wide open at the free throw line or Jackson with the ability to just get on a stampede, get fully downhill and get on his runway and dunk on everybody or whatever. Ayton has been really good with floaters and stuff around the free throw line as well. Like, the only player who hasn't been able to execute it is Jared Vanderbilt, and really says something about Jared Vanderbilt.
Well, he's not going to be allowed to for the rest of the season. It would appear. So,
but yeah, I actually have the Lakers. I don't have them winning a champ, but I think they have championship ceiling.
Yeah,
if they execute trade deadline and buyout season well. Where do you have them?
No, I agree, and I think I saw one of your commenters. I'm sorry, the name scrolled by, but kept talking about Rob Williams, and I'm just laughing at the idea of Portland center rotation from last year helping lead the Lakers to a title, and like how watching Blazers fans react to that. I think they do have contention ceiling, but it would, again, it's like we're talking best case scenario here. They make several moves, all the guys perfectly fit as much as you think they're going to, and they get, maybe a buyout edition. I saw I heard people talking about like CJ McCollum as even like maybe like a buyout candidate down the line. And not that the Lakers necessarily like desperately need a small guard with scoring potential, but it couldn't hurt off the bench. Like, that's a hell of a, 6th, 7th man, whatever. He just dropped like 46 last night or something. So, I think that there is a scenario here where they can, I can see a path to title contention, but it's going to require breaks, and it's going to require, it's going to require sort of perfect moves. And even then, it's still, it's a puncher's chance. It's not being the favorite, because the sort of elephant in the room with all of this is just OKC is that good. And if they're able to stay healthy, then you sort of are going to, you're going to need some luck to beat them.
I actually think, Harrison, maybe this is, we're going to have to figure out a way for me to whine about this team. Because I think I'm getting ridiculously high on them. If they execute the trade now, look, if because OKC has a ton of assets that they are working with too, so like they can just fully blow everybody out of the water by going more all in and supplementing an already ridiculous roster with more talent. If they do that, then it's over. Like, there's nothing that anybody could do to deal with them, I don't think. But if OKC just kind of remains who OKC is, on their trajectory to be by the end of the year, and the Lakers have a really, really, really good, a really good but still realistic trade deadline and buyout season. Because I thought, again, you mentioned the CJ McCollum buyout thing. Like, the caliber of buyout players is going to go way up. I've talked about this now dating back for a couple of trade or transaction windows, where basically teams are deciding, you know what, we're better off just waiving this player than taking on longer term money.
Yeah.
And other teams that are waiting to trade for those guys or waiting to acquire those guys are basically doing what NFL teams do, where it's like, I don't know, you could take a bad contract and a 7th rounder in NFL terms.
Yeah.
You could, you have a,
or they're doing what the Lakers did and saying, you can just cut. We know you're going to cut some of these guys.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I think is going to happen with some of these. CJ McCollum might be like the best player who might be available this way. But that is something that I think teams are, I wouldn't go so far as to say planning for, but certainly they are keeping a very close eye on. And so, yeah, I think that if the Lakers have the right trade deadline and buyout season, that they can go into a series against OKC or Denver and have a better than puncher's chance against that team. Like, I actually think that, the Lakers could go into that. there is no scenario where the Lakers enter that series as favorites. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think you could go into that and the Lakers would be like better than a long shot underdog against that team. And that's really saying something. Like I know that's going to sound to a lot of people as like an underhanded compliment from me. But I'm baking into this pie how good OKC is. They're the former champions and they are just beating the shit out of everybody so far this season. And Denver has been excellent on offense while they've been hurt and or guys haven't been able to make open shots. Like I think both OKC and Denver are on a collision course, I feel like. But I think that the Lakers, if they have the right trade deadline, could break up that collision course. And I think that's as much as we could have possibly hoped for coming into the season.
Not to get too bogged down in the weeds here. The new cap rules are not my area of expertise, but I see people talking about like the buyout rules in the comments. But I believe, are the Lakers a first apron team? I think they're hard capped at the first apron, but are they at the first apron or above it?
They are hard capped at the first apron.
Which it's only teams that are over the first or second apron that can't that buyout rule applies to. So if they're actually below the first apron, I think they're allowed to sign buyout guys. That's what I was pretty sure about.
So
I could be wrong though. I'm definitely not Yossi. So maybe you need to have him on closer to buyout season.
All right. So a team is hard capped at the first or second apron if one of the rules are violated. So not allowed to acquire a player in a sign and trade. Lakers haven't done that. This is at the first apron. Not allowed to use a pre-existing trade exceptions. This must be if you go above the first apron. Not allowed to take back more money in a trade if you're above the first apron. Not allowed to sign. What's up?
From where I'm getting this, salary switch has them hard capped at the first apron.
Yeah, they are under the first apron. So
I think they could sign buyout guys. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure they can.
Yeah. Tell you what, everybody, I'll look it up to make you make absolute certain. I'm pretty sure that if you're below, like there's like a $13 million. It's like the median.
It's the mid-level exception. Yeah. It like if those guys get bought out, then any team can sign them. But if it's over that amount, then I think it's just teams in the first and second apron that cannot.
The thing that the Lakers are up against it with right now is that they are right up against the first apron. So they can't afford, if one of those players was bought out right now, they don't have enough money to pay that player a prorated minimum, which puts them at a disadvantage of being able to sign those guys. Now as this year goes along, that prorated minimum dips further and further and further. And usually what happens is players will...
They're a little over $1 million below it, I believe.
Yeah. Normally what happens is if a player is going to be bought out, if he has an intended outcome to being bought out, he'll talk to that team and they'll work out. Like this is happening with Seth Curry, right?
Yeah.
Where...
they're waiting until the day they're allowed to sign him and remain like legally feasible. Yeah.
Right. So like that might be something that the Lakers might, eventually look into. I think before it comes to that, they would make a consolidation trade and try to take back less money than they send out and give themselves a little bit more wiggle room there.
Yeah, I mean they could do both.
Yeah. And eventually, it might just come out that like they have room to sign multiple buyout guys, right? Like we saw how getting multiple buyout guys have helped this roster as it's currently constructed. So, I guess my point.
And people say the buyout guys don't make a difference, and I agree. Most of the time, it almost never matters. But there are times where like Dwight Howard was technically a buyout for that 2020 Lakers team. Now he was a preseason buyout, but he was a buyout, and Markieff Morris basically won that team a second round series. I mean, not by himself, but the adjustment of having him as an option basically was what the Lakers used to beat the Rockets, and that was a buyout guy. So like you can get a buyout guy that makes an impact. It's just like they're not going to win you a title by themselves, but they can make a huge difference in a round.
Well, also, I swear, Harrison, we're moving into a different era of buyout players or a different level of buyout players where players that are better than Dwight Howard at the end of his career or better than Markieff Morris are going to be available via buyout because of what we just talked about a second ago with the way that teams are treating trades,
Teams better than that version of players better than that version of Dwight Howard. I don't know. He was still pretty good. That was like his last or second to last good year, but he was still pretty good at that point.
Yeah, that's fair.
He just was annoying, so teams didn't want to sign him, but like he was still very talented.
I remember being anti-signing Dwight Howard.
Yeah, he was way overqualified for that role, though, just with his level of talent.
Yeah, I was concerned that he wasn't going to buy into the role.
Yeah,
and he did, and won the Lakers a championship. Jokic still talks about, behind the scenes how Dwight fucking with him in that series really kind of changed the trajectory of his career. He was like, all right, Dwight and AD basically bullying Jokic made Jokic say, all right, I got to get in shape, and created the monster.
Coming up next, Lakers Lounge podcast, was the 2020 title a mistake?
Get in.
Should they have just let Jokic have that one?
I'm saying, like, get in a time machine, go back to 2020 and be like, let him win.
Guys, I know it seems important right now. You don't want to do this. You'll get it back next year. You're going to get like 4 weeks more rest. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't matter whether you go with Montrezl Harrell or Serge Ibaka. They're both going to suck.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess like the point that I want people to walk away from this episode with is that if you would have told me coming into the season that the Lakers have, I think, a fairly realistic path to being on the level of an OKC, being on the level of a Denver Nuggets, I would say that's like the most that I would have asked for, Now, how realistic that is just kind of depends on Rob Pelinka and his approach to this. And I understand if you are nervous about that. I share some of those nerves, but when, I guess for me, this offense is so potentially potent that and like LeBron looks good enough that I like this team. I can fuck around and do some stuff. And I don't know, going into Thanksgiving, that's pretty damn cool. Like, I'm really happy to be where the Lakers currently sit. Knock on wood that it continues, but I would not have like the stretch from the beginning of the season to Thanksgiving, I don't think could have gone realistically much better than it has.
I'll ask you here. Here's a question for your breakout clip for TikTok or whatever. But like, do you sense that the team is worried about Ayton?
I don't think they're worried about him.
Okay, they think it's gonna be fine. Like, this is not.
I wouldn't be surprised if he played in their next game.
Okay.
Yeah, JJ said last night that like they think that he'll be able to play sometime this week. Basically, they're repeating a lot of the same stuff that they were saying when Austin was hurt, and there was never any real concern with Austin. So, but look, like contusions with this Lakers team.
I'm just saying, can you message someone with the team and just say, hey, have you guys checked to make sure he's not sleeping on an air mattress while he's recovering? Has somebody gone to his house and verified he got like the good bed?
Could you imagine if like you show up at his house, he's like, guys, I got this brand new hyperbaric chamber bed. And people are like, you bought a hyperbaric chamber bed? And he goes like, yeah, it's a hyperbaric mattress. Look at this thing. It's just like,
I imagine in my head, DeAndre Ayton's apartment in Portland or townhome or, penthouse or whatever he had, it was an air mattress in one corner. And then there was like a TV set up on a stand. No furniture, nothing. And I'm saying like the Lakers should just check in, make sure he's not doing that right now.
Yeah. I think I've told
you, as a fellow
you,
video game addict, I know that can get in the way of setting up your apartment in an optimal way. And so I'm trying to look out for my guy, DA. New favorite.
I've told you the Jermaine O'Neal story, right?
Yeah. I've heard Aaron tell it too.
They had to move his mom in with him.
Yeah.
I don't think Ayton's quite there anymore. Harrison, this has been really fun. Anything that you want to plug before we get you out of here? Oh, wait, we have a Sard comment. Sorry. So I got to play this really quick.
Nothing gets me more in the Thanksgiving spirit than that.
What are you thankful for? Fuck Boston.
Yeah.
That's my grace. What do you like? That's not.
That was their Thanksgiving dinner that year. They're all like, what are you grateful for?
Yeah, we'll say like, all right, Avery, say grace, and she just goes, bows her head. Fuck Boston. All right, let's eat. Let's go. Ryan Lucas, what about Mann, Highsmith, and Sharp from the Nets? Seems to check all the boxes if you snag all three. Seems doable. Again, have a good Thanksgiving, fellas. I would say that's on the lower end of it's a realistic move. That's on the lower end of like impact that the Lakers would need. There isn't a starter among those three guys there, and I think the Lakers need a starter that
Who's your
makes
number
it
one
so
target?
that Luka, Austin, and LeBron aren't operating in a negative.
If we're going to the Anthony Irwin, Mind Palace, who is your number one target? Of realistically available guys, obviously.
Yeah. I keep wavering between Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. But the thing is, a lot of the targets play for teams that I don't know if they would ever trade with the Lakers. I
don't know that you can rule out the Pelicans doing anything.
Yeah, that's the thing is that, but they just paid Murphy.
We know Rob is good at swindling a stupid GM. Like Rob can smell chum in the water.
Do you think he's been super friendly with Joe Dumars so far?
No, I don't even think Joe Dumars I think Joe Dumars is mad. He doesn't show up at the office, he's there as a face.
Did you see the reports of Joe Dumars' son being heavily involved?
Oh, love it. I feel so. I honestly, as mean as they were to me during the AD trade saga, I feel bad for Pelicans fans. New Orleans is a wonderful city.
Yeah, I think it really helps you and I have both visited New Orleans.
Huh?
I think it really helps our empathy for Pelicans fans that you and I have both visited New Orleans. I love New Orleans. It is a
incredible city,
beautiful, incredible city. But, yeah, I wonder if I would still share that empathy if they were Milwaukee or something like that.
Well, they were also nice to me when I was there. It's I always thought the Southern hospitality thing was a made up thing. And then it's everybody there is so nice when you're walking around and when you're at restaurants and whatever. And I'm why don't players want to play here? I would move here.
Yeah. Well, football players love it there.
And then you find out that they their training staff is a guy that got his medical license at Cerritos Community College. And
I'll just never forget when they were bragging about hiring an NBA training staff, that they were no longer sharing a training staff with the
Did you see the thing that ads came on during their gym playlist at practice?
Well, no, that they were announcing the starting five before Willie Green was fired.
Yeah.
And they weren't saying Willie Green's name afterward.
My favorite detail of the Pelicans are quiet quitting on just being an NBA team is the Trill, my friend from the Ball podcast dug this up, or one of his listeners did. The Pelicans straight up do not have a promotional calendar this year on their website. They're just not doing theme nights or giveaways.
Yeah, I think I saw a picture where it was right after halftime and they had closed up shop on all of their concessions.
Yeah, it's rough. Again, so why not both? Free Trey and Herb from that situation, Rob, this is a humanitarian crisis. We got to get the NBA players out of New Orleans.
We do have to get out of here. Here's what I'll say to leave you guys with a little bit of a nugget heading into Thanksgiving to talk about your family, or talk about with your family. Teams that have stars on expensive, longer term contracts, those stars, whether it's Levine, Kawhi, AD, Ja, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Trey. Well, actually, Trey's not long term, but still a weird situation.
Those players are very available. and the prices on those players are like TJ Maxx level bargain bin
Why'd you have to
stuff.
ruin my Thanksgiving? If the Lakers trade for Zach LaVine, Anthony, like, and you put this like evil out
Well,
into
no,
the
I'm not
universe,
saying that the Lakers would trade for Zach LaVine. I'm saying, all right, so because I don't think the Lakers
Rob's
would
like,
get
I
involved
fixed
on
it. I
any of those
traded
players.
Rui for DeMar.
Yeah. Would DeMar fit better in the starting group than Rui?
No,
But
arguably
so
worse.
the thing is, like, when players like that get traded, right? You have so much money moving and you have so much expiring money moving. That is a huge injection of talent into the buyout market, because typically, like, the players that arrive at a scene or a team that just traded away, a star level player like that, they usually look around and they're like, I'm good here,
Yeah.
And so, like, and again, I don't have the Lakers. I haven't heard that the Lakers are in on any of that level of player, because they already have 3 star level players.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, they may have saved themselves from themselves just by the way their contracts are set up.
But I do think that the Lakers will eventually benefit from the downstream effects of those players being moved. Any of those players being moved.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, that's a fair point. It's like, like Zach LaVine in a trade, like, I will set myself on fire on this live stream. Zach LaVine on a buyout, I'm interested.
I think you setting yourself on fire would flag the YouTube channel, so I would appreciate it if you didn't do that.
I didn't say lethally set myself on fire.
Oh.
Just like for a minute, I'll put it
Just
out.
like an arm?
But like, yeah, just like get the shirt up here, just like light it for a minute, get some lighter fluid,
Ow, hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, like,
I'll
you have
do
a
it.
beard and hair is really flammable, so you got to be careful with that stuff.
I did find that out when I was a kid and I was trying to start my dad's grill, and I singed off half of one of my eyebrows. Because I left the gas on for too
every
long.
like summer, I have like no hair basically from like here up because of how much I grill. So gotta be careful with that stuff.
Yeah,
All right,
you don't need
everybody.
a wax. Just set yourself on fire.
Before I go, I do this before every big weekend and stuff like that. Thanksgiving is obviously, you have tonight is one of the biggest bar nights of the year. You have a big long weekend that usually features a lot of football, a lot of drinking, and a lot of festivities like that. If you are going to partake, please be safe. Hop in an Uber, make arrangements that would make it so that you are not out on the road driving after partaking, and just be super, super safe there. Also, seeing as we are heading into the Thanksgiving holiday, I would like to stop and say thank you to all of you who subscribe to the channel, who support us in any which way that you do. We are, like, I say this a lot, and it's because this stuff continues to grow, but we are on the verge, especially on the other, like, heading into 2026. I think we're on the verge of some really cool stuff, and it would not be possible without your guys' continued support. So, thank you a ton, Harrison. Thank you to you personally for your friendship over all of these years as well. It's something I will never take for granted. And have a great rest of your holidays. Make somebody else's. I will probably be back on Friday to talk with Pete and break down how we attacked each our respective Thanksgivings. Have a good one, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.